Go ahead and get started. And if anyone joins us as we go through it, that is no problem. I'm also recording this session. So if you want to go back and watch it, you totally can, or share it with anyone. I'll be able to send it to you. But thank you to everyone for coming to our first year and gap year abroad webinar. My name is Ariel. I am one of the enrollment coordinators. I'm super excited to be going over our program today. Um, First, we'll just go over and meet our team. I'm Ariel. I've worked with the first year and gap year abroad team as an enrollment coordinator. So if you happen to live on the West Coast or in the Middle Territory, you'll most likely be talking to me. I will be walking you through all of the CIEE application tasks and any questions that you have. If you live on the East Coast, you'll be talking to my coworker, Sabrina. Um, I should have put a picture of her here, but I forgot. And then this is my manager, Emily. If you are applying for a program or have applied, you will most likely hear from her as well. You can always book a call with our team. We are here to answer any questions you have, go over all program details. You could email us at any time. Someone will get back to you. I like to say that no question is a stupid question, especially when it involves going abroad, which is such a fun experience and amazing, but there's a lot of logistics that go into it. So that's what we are here for. So a little bit about CIEE. We are a study abroad organization, obviously. We have been sending students abroad for over 75 years. Our main focus is to really help young people enhance their global perspective by participating in international exchange and study abroad programs. We have many different programs from high school all the way to post-college. I'm actually alumni of our CIE program for our Teach Abroad. I went to Madrid, Spain after graduating college, and I taught English for a year. And now I get to work with students who also want to take that semester or academic year and go explore a new city. So I'm super excited and love talking about CIE and all the different experiences and amazing time that I had with them. So, what is our first year and gap year abroad programs? They really are another pathway to college. A lot of people see study abroad or think about it and think that you have to be a junior in college to study abroad. And that's how it used to be. But stuff has changed, and CIE offers post high school study abroad programs to our high school graduates who might not be so sure they want to stay on that traditional path after high school graduation. We have a first year abroad program and a gap year abroad program, which I will go into very right now. But first, benefits of going abroad after graduation. Many colleges actually encourage taking a gap year. This includes school like Princeton, UNC Charlotte, University of Oregon, NYU. It's really a time for students to gain that independence right after high school graduation and have such a worldly view. I mean, you can utilize it in everything in future college applications, job applications, internships. A lot of people have experience with going abroad, so it's always fun to talk about in those situations as well. 100% of our fall 2025 first year abroad participants indicated that their career-related knowledge, independence, and intercultural awareness improved after their program. You get academic enrichment, no matter which program you choose to go on, language acquisition, lifelong memories, and networking. That is the biggest thing. I didn't even know, for example, a career in international education was a thing, but going abroad really opened up so many doors for me. So, what are your options after high school? You think traditional college, you start your studies at a university in the US, but there's different ways you can do study abroad or pathways after high school graduation. You could take a gap year, take a break between high school and college for professional or personal development, or we now offer a first year abroad program, which is earning college credit while experiencing life in another country. It's kind of a new thing that study abroad organizations are making a part of their programs, offering college freshman year courses to students without having to be enrolled in a university yet. So our first year and gap year abroad programs really differ. Um, but first, we'll go into our locations that we offer. We offer different continents and countries and different locations for all of our first year and gap year programs. For first year, we have programs in Sydney, Australia, London, England, Berlin, Germany, Rome, Italy, Barcelona, Spain, and Monteverde, Costa Rica. For our gap programs, same but different. You'll have Kyoto, Japan, which I forgot to mention for first year. You'll have Paris, France, Berlin, Germany, Florence, Italy, Seville, Spain. So some of them overlap, some don't. Programs are very different. It really depends on if you're looking to take that break between high school and college, or if you're wanting to earn college credit while you're abroad. Our gap year abroad features many different components, and I love talking about our gap year programs because they are just so much fun. You are learning a language, you're really immersed in the culture. It's a language and cultural immersion program. So, what does that mean? You'll be enrolled in language school for around 15 to 20 hours a week, about 4 or 5 days a week, learning a language, depending on the country you go to, could be French, Spanish, German, Italian, Japanese. You can go in as a beginner. Um, or you could go in fluently. You'll be placed in a course that is level to where you are at in your language. A lot of our students who do gap year programs are doing them because they really want to either come back fluent or they have an interest in learning that specific language. But a lot of them also maybe don't want to learn a language or they didn't go into the program with that in mind. It's just an added plus. Our gap year program has a really good mix of structure and independence. You'll be living with a homestay family. I'll go over our homestays a little bit later in this presentation. For our gap year program, since it's a language and cultural immersion program, there's no college credit associated with the language school. But CIEE just partnered up with ASU, Arizona State, for online college credits. So you can earn college credits online, taking online courses on the Gap Year Abroad program. It is separate from the language courses that you will be taking on our GAP program. But for students that want to earn just a few credits to use towards later, they totally can on this program. Included in the program is cultural activities. These will be like daily activities or weekly activities that the center staff will throw for our students. This could be like game nights, cooking classes, going to shows, movie nights. It really just depends. You'll also have guided excursions. This will include an overnight trip, some weekend trips to surrounding cities and towns. It really all depends on what the center staff has in store for our GAP programs. I say our GAP program has 3 support systems. You have your homestay, the center staff, and then you also have your language school. Our center staff, they have a location in every program in every country that we run. So they are CIE staff. They are either locals or have lived there forever. They speak the language and English as well. They are your biggest support system. So they plan a lot of fun excursions for our students. What is first year abroad? First year abroad is a bit different. It is a study abroad experience for college students in their first semester or academic year. How this works is students are actually enrolled at our partner university, Dean College. It's our academic home and school of record. So it kind of gets confusing. I know. You'll apply to CIEE and then Dean College will look over your application and accept you into the program. So you will be a full-time student at Dean College, but you're taking those courses abroad with CIEE at the CIE Center location. So you are a full-time enrolled US student taking US courses. And when you return back to the US, you have options. You can transfer into a school of your choice. You can transfer into one of our partner schools, which I'll go over later, or you can have direct admission into Dean College since you're already accepted there. You'll be earning 12 to 13 college credits per semester, taking around 4 courses, and you'll be enrolled in just general education. You don't have to worry about declaring a major or taking those major courses. You'll be doing intro level courses like humanities, social sciences, STEM, business, anything. Some courses really differ on location. Like in Spain, they offer Spanish, but in Japan, they offer Japanese. So, and then in London, they don't offer either. But the credits are supposed to be highly transferable to a student's college of choice. I always tell my students that I'm working with, if you have a college that you want to go to, check in with that school, make sure what their transfer policies are, see what the credits are on their websites. A lot of time they have like conversion calculators so you can see how the Dean College courses can transfer into the school of choice. Program fees start at 17,000. This will include tuition, program, enrollment fees, sometimes meals, depending on location as well. And then here is a little video. Oops, sorry. I'm not sure if the sound is going to play. I was having issues with it earlier, but it is I don't think it's working today, but that's okay. It's on our website, and I'll also send it in a YouTube video as well. But what is the main difference in our gap year and first year abroad programs? Gap year abroad, no college credit unless you opt in for ASU. But first year abroad, you get 12 to 13 credits per semester, so equivalent to one freshman year semester. Language immersion, gap year. If you want to learn a language, the gap year program. Oh, okay, I think that's better. Sorry, my microphone went out. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Julia. Sorry, I got so confused because it logged in as Ariel, so I was like, oh my gosh, another me is joining the conversation. But um, sorry about that. Anyway, we were just going over the differences really quick, but as you can see, there is semester, academic year for both our gap year and first year abroad programs, homestays for both, residence halls for our first year program, depending on where you go. This can be in London, Monteverde, and Sydney, Australia. But the rest of our programs are all homestays. So even if you do first year abroad and it's not that same language immersion as our gap programs, you still will be living with a family that speaks a local language, and it's a great way to learn. You'll get excursions, and the different program locations as well. So we do have a guest speaker joining us today. This is Julia. She was an alumni of our GAP Sevilla program. She just got back from her travels, like 2 months ago, from the spring 2025 program. She went to Sevilla, like I said, and I went to Madrid, Spain when I went abroad. So I was very biased when talking to her about our programs. I was just so over the moon. I love talking about Spain, but I want to give the floor to Julia right now to kind of touch on her gap year experience as a whole and go a little bit into detail about what the center staff was like, what the language school was like, and then we can open it up to questions if anyone has any questions. But Julia, I'll let you take over for now, and then I'll have a few questions for you afterwards.
Okay, perfect. Well, I was there for 3 months. I was part of the spring program. I just got back a few weeks ago in the beginning of May. And like Ariel said, I was in Sevilla, Spain. That program, you're living there with a host family. So I went with that option, and then took the same classes there. And I was just studying Spanish classes. And I loved the program. I loved getting to travel. I loved everything that CIE had to offer, and just learning completely about the culture. They sign you up for classes 4 days a week at a local school, to learn whatever language they speak in that country. So in my case, it was Spanish. And that was a really great way to meet a lot of international students. So from all over, from all ages, everyone that was there to learn Spanish. So I think without CIE offering that, I wouldn't have met so many new and interesting people. And then also once a week, we had a global competence class, which CI uses to kind of structure, make sure that you're learning fully about the culture. So if you're confused, have struggles or questions with your host family, they kind of check in with you once a week and make sure you're not fully on your own and help guide you through that. And that was really helpful because there were so many things that, as someone that had never been to Europe before or even Spain, that I just didn't understand, and why it was such a big difference. So that definitely help make me feel much more comfortable living with my host family, kind of understanding why they do a lot of the things that they did and connect with them better. And aside from that, it was classes Monday through Thursday. And then I know for the Sevilla program at least, CIE went with an option this year to not have classes on Fridays. So we were able to have the opportunity to travel. So you can see in some of those photos, I definitely spent a lot of my time traveling around Europe and throughout elsewhere around Spain. I traveled a lot with my host family as well, got really close with them. And yeah, overall, it was really great experience. Great way to learn a ton about the culture and so much more about Sevilla specifically, Spain, Europe. Even it was my first time ever being outside of the country, and I felt that it was a great like balance between having the independence and being 18 or over and being able to travel fully on your own, but at the same time, I did have CIE. There was a lot of guidance if needed. So there was a lot of people there to help fall back on. The team was really great, really easy to navigate through everything, but also gives you that opportunity to take all the independence that you want and really do as much as you'd like, and make it your own trip and whatever works for you.
That's awesome to hear. I am a big fan of our Sevilla Center staff. They are just such a joy and so much fun to work with. What were your classes like? Would you say they were challenging? Was it like more about like your own pace, or could you speak a bit on the language school, especially like
Yeah,
in Sevilla?
um, it was definitely, like, interesting at first, not exactly what I was expecting, but I ended up loving it, and it was great. You get put into classes based off your level. So when you first get there, they'll take you through orientation, the CIE, like, center and the people that are working in Sevilla take you to the school, give you a tour, and then, we went through testing with one of the directors, and then you get placed in a class based on your level, so based on your Spanish. And so you can be placed in classes with people of all ages. And then it was just, I believe it was 5 hours with breaks of my Spanish classes. And it went over everything from basic grammar, reading and writing skills, but mostly focusing on conversational skills. So a lot of the teachers, they all speak Spanish, obviously, and many of them don't speak any other language outside of that. So some of their second languages would be German, French, or if you were lucky, English. But they don't really allow much English in the school, which can be intimidating at first, but ended up being great in the long run because it really just forces you to have to learn and speak that language as much as possible. Um, but yeah, you get placed based off your level, and then you can move up as you spend your time there, move around. The school was really easy to navigate. Everyone was great to speak to, really helpful. All the professors were great. So it's whatever ends up working out for you. And you're able to move around classes as you feel comfortable. But I felt like the way that Click ran it was really great, and it helped me learn so much more Spanish than I would have expected.
That's awesome. And then do you feel like you had enough free time, like outside of the classes that you were enrolled in, as well as like the CIE led excursions?
Yes. So all of the excursions were, in my case, they were all optional, which highly recommend taking advantage of everything that you can. Just fill up all of your time. But, none of it was required, so if you had something else that you wanted to do with your free time, you're more than welcome to. For me, classes ran, I believe, from 9:15 until 2:45 during my days with breaks in between. So it wasn't complete long sitting in a classroom. Um, and with that, you have the entire day. In Spain, at least, the schedule is a little bit different. That's like one of the differences I noticed that compares to here in the US. Lunchtime is usually around like 3 o'clock, and then dinner won't be until 9 or 10. And then in my family, it ended up being 11 o'clock at night. So it did feel like you had a whole second part of your day. So oftentimes I would even wish that school was a little bit longer because I didn't really know what to do with myself between like 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. But lots of free time. At least in Sevilla, CIE offered so many different excursions. And that was something that I hadn't expected there to be so much of until I actually got there and went through orientation. They structured it into different types of activities. So there would be sports almost every single day, or there'd be activities scheduled with locals or excursions. So whatever you were interested in, there were different types of groups. So there would be like food structured activities, hanging out with locals, structured activities, sports, day trips. There was one overnight trip. And so that is optional as well. But everybody that I knew went on that trip. And then everything else, you kind of go as it interests you. And every activity happens at least twice or three times throughout your year or 3 months spent in whatever country. So if you miss out on something, you have the opportunity to do it again. But I definitely had so much free time. And I didn't feel like restricted. Anything else that I wanted to add into my schedule was optional and I could go out and find it through CIE or do your own thing. But I felt like the schedule was really great.
That's amazing to hear, and I'm so glad to hear you had such a fun time. It feels just like yesterday we were working together to like get you abroad, and now you're fully back. But thank you so much. I want to open it up. If anyone has any questions in the chat, or I can unmute you, just raise your hand or ask. I know we have some Sevilla participants who are going in the fall on this call, so. If there's anything that you want to ask to an alumni, now is the time to do it before she has to hop off. And if not, that is all right too. I do want to note that this QR code in the middle is Julia's QR code. So if you haven't opened an application yet, we still have applications open for our gap year program and first year abroad, or just kidding, for gap year programs till July. And this will a referral code, so you get something and she also gets something. So yeah, I could send this to you after this call as well. And I'll also send a recording of this to everyone too, in case you want to listen to what her experience was like again. But thank you so much, Julia, for joining us today. It was so great to hear about your experience and kind of go more in depth about what the Sevilla program like consists of and just our GAP programs in general.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Talk to you soon. Awesome. Well, that was a lot about our GAP program. Our first year abroad program, similar but different. You will still have that free time and the excursions and extracurricular activities. You'll just be enrolled in college courses versus language courses. In terms of academics, for our first year abroad program, like I said, they're all general education. So you will have classes like communications, film and media, literature, theater, writing, geography. It really just depends on what your course schedule is and which location you choose. For Monteverde, classes really are about sustainability or like environmental sciences, very different than going to like London and taking theater or literature, stuff like that. Whereas our gap year abroad programs, you're doing 15 to 20 hours of interactive language learning. And like Julia said, you'll be doing two cultural activities and placement in a language level will depend on students' performance on the language assessment they take beforehand. So homestays. So Our homestay families for CIE are all volunteers. They do not depend on stipend funds from CIE, which means that they are hosting our students because they really are passionate about sharing their culture and their home and experience. A lot of the families are families who have volunteered with CIE before, or families who have had a one of their children go study abroad and live with a homestay family, and they also want to give that experience to one of our students. All of our homestays are carefully interviewed, required to complete a criminal background check for anyone 18 or over, get references. Our center staff will conduct site visits to the homes to verify the home environment and make sure that obviously the families are hosting for the right reasons. We really put emphasis on safety and security. Location to the homestay to the language school can vary depending on location. Just expect to commute. Commuting is a normal part of living abroad. I truly say it makes you feel like you're living like a local. This will be for first year abroad too. You just won't be commuting to a language school. You'll be commuting to the CIE Center to take your courses, but you'll be so well versed in the train system or the metro or the bus. And some of the locations are even walkable to get to the campus. For GAP, you will get meals with the program because you're living with a homestay, as well as a first year abroad program. If you're living with a homestay, meals are included. The one program where meals will not be included with first year abroad is going to be our London program because you'll be living in a residence hall and you'll have a kitchenette. So great time to learn how to cook for yourself. And then Wi-Fi. You'll have access to all common areas in your own bedroom and language immersion. So keep in mind that English levels may vary in homestays. We tell our homestay families to speak there primarily in their target language. This is the best way to learn a language, in my opinion. You can take all the courses you want, but unless you're practicing it at home, it's very hard to become fluent. And then if you're going for an academic year for our GAP programs, there could be a possibility you need to switch homestays in that winter break period, but it really just depends on our families and volunteers. Eligibility. So for both programs, you have to be 18 or older, except for Kyoto, Japan, and Monteverde, Costa Rica. You can be 17 to attend those programs. For our gap year program, you have to be deferred or waiting for college acceptance, or before you start college, you do our gap program, and then you don't need to have any previous language requirement. For our first year abroad program, same thing, Monteverde, Costa Rica, and Kyoto, Japan. You could be 17 or older, and all the rest of our locations, 18 plus. You can only have one completed semester of college under your belt. This is because we only offer general education courses, so we want to make sure that our students are not overlapping anything and that they get all the credits that they deserve by taking these classes. And you do have to have a GPA of 2.7 or higher. Oh, sorry. I went forward and back. But funding your first year and gap year abroad programs. Program costs vary. For our gap language and culture programs, for a semester, they range from around 12,000 to 14,000, whereas our first year abroad programs range from 16,800 to 24,000 for a semester, with Kyoto, Japan being our most expensive and both programs. What's included is going to be room and board with host family or residence hall. You'll have the academic home tuition and enrollment fee for first year abroad, supervision and support of local staff, international medical insurance through iNext, CIEE-led trips and excursions, airport greeting and transportation with when arriving in the arrival window, and then 24/7 support and counseling available to students and parents from the CIE headquarters, and more. When considering a program location, it's also important to consider the cost of living in that location. You'll have a home and you'll be living in a residence hall or a homestay, but there's going to be personal expenses that come with living in any of these locations. So think about expenses such as eating out, international airfare, local transportation, any external travel you want to do, or stuff you want to buy. Have these conversations with your parents or legal guardians. Our enrollment coordinators are always here to help out with this too, and setting expectations on what you should expect to save or bring on your abroad program. The program fees cover tuition, housing, pre-departure advising, orientations, airport meet and greet, excursions, insurance. Really, what it does not include is going to be your international airfare and transportation. So just keep that in mind, as well as personal expenses. Like we talked about before, additional expenses to consider. I'll be sending this in an email as well, so no need to write everything down if you are. Budget breakdown examples. This is an example of our first year abroad program. Again, I'll be sending this over. How does our first year abroad and gap year abroad compare to the traditional freshman year in the US? An average public school 4-year in state can't beat that price. 12,000 is the average, but out of state can be up to 22,000 and a private can be up to almost 30,000. Our gap year is in the same range as in-state schools, where our first year abroad program is definitely in the same range as an out-of-state school, if not less, depending on the program you're going to. Here is a little bit about what our terms look like in terms of a semester or academic year. For a semester, it's around 82 days, and for an academic year, it's 180 days. So it really mimics the academic years and semesters that school is on back here in the US. So like a September to December or a January to April, May finish. For semester programs, you do not need a visa, but if you were to go for an academic year, a visa is required. And this is something that CIEE will help you out with in terms of guiding you along. It is up to the students to get their own visa, but we supply paperwork and guidance as well. So what comes afterwards, after your first year or gap year abroad program? After first year abroad, you can transfer into a school of your choice. You can go to one of our college partners. You can earn your degree at our academic home and school of record, Dean College, since you'll already be admitted there. And then after a gap year program, there's so much. You will be a first year student, so you could start college, or you could start college at your deferral university. Let's say you got in for spring and you went on a gap program in fall. You could totally do that. You could also do that with first year abroad. And just returning home with better clarity in what your next steps are. Take a second to read this quote from one of our other gap students for fall 2024. She also went on our Sevilla, Spain program. So here are some of our first year abroad partner colleges. These are colleges who have already looked at the course list that CIEE and Dean College is offering for first year abroad, approved it. You still have to apply to these colleges and get accepted, but we kind of did the heavy lifting for you in terms of how credits will transfer. There are more to come, and there's also more listed on our website as well. When it comes to deferring college, this is a huge part of our first year and gap year programs. A lot of seniors, when they are starting that process of applying and hearing back from schools, and they get in for the fall and they realize they want to do a gap year or a first year abroad program, you feel kind of stuck. But the good news is that colleges are very amenable about deferring acceptance. CIE has a template that we will send you over where it basically explains the kind of program that you want to be doing for that first semester and asking for a spring start. So what does deferring mean? You can delay enrollment into a college or college delaying its decision on a student's application. There's two different types of deferment. You can do deferral for a second review or deferral for later enrollment. So that would be what your deferral is for first year in gap. You can do up to one academic year. So if you decide you want to do an academic year on our gap program, but you still got admitted into the school of your dreams, you can still defer and start that next following school year while still doing the first year gap year abroad programs. There's different steps to defer first. Prepare your college and CIE applications together. Contact the college admissions office to discuss what deferring looks like for that school of choice you want to go to. Submit the required documentation, finalize your CIE plans, and then embark on your adventure. When you come back, you've already got something set up for you. You don't have to do it this way. If you decide you want to do a first year gap year abroad program and then figure it out while you're on program or when you're back, you could totally do that too. It's not a one size or one shoe fits all kind of situation. For different schools, there's different referral requirements, but the type of documentation that may be required is an intent to defer, an enrollment deposit, deadlines for submitting documentation. So just to make sure from the specific college that you plan to go to, whether for gap or first year abroad, what that looks like. Important reminders when deferring, how is this going to affect any financial aid packages? You want to keep in mind that you're a full-time student on our first year abroad student. Some schools don't allow you to be matriculated students anywhere else if you are starting in the spring. So that is something you want to double check on. Make sure to double check on that because you don't want September to come around or you finish your program and then you find that out after. It would be an awful situation. And you can also reapply as a transfer student. Regardless of what you do, you're going to be a transfer student from Dean College anyway, so keep that in mind as well. So next steps. Pro tips for planning, research the programs, destinations, and costs. Talk to any former study abroad students. We are more than happy to set you up with our alumni, and they are more than happy to talk to you about their experience with full honesty, the pros, the cons. Consult with advisors, create a budget, start early. There's never too early to start. We have students opening applications for spring 2027, which feels like so long from now, but it comes up so fast, especially when you're in your senior year and you're trying to figure out what your next move is. These deadlines have passed most of them, but our spring deadlines for our first year abroad program, we have our early application deadline of August 1st. This means you get $400 off of the program. And then the spring final deadline is October 30th. So if you just graduated high school and you don't know what you want to do for your fall semester and you want to go abroad your spring semester, applications are still open. For gap year abroad, applications are still open for fall 2025. They close on July 1st. So if you really don't know what your plan is for fall yet or spring, or you want to do academic year, this option is still for you. And then spring, the final deadline is November 1st. So it gives our students more time to really decide what they want to do for that next fiscal school year. The application process is very straightforward. Opening application is free. You could always open one in a certain location, check it out, what it is. If you decide that location is not for you, I can go ahead and change it for you. It is no problem. But some of the stuff on the application is going to be like informational, like let's get to know yous, case of emergencies, gender identity. Some more high level stuff will be health forms from your doctor, from your parents, mental health history forms, and then operational transcripts, passports. If you don't have a passport yet, don't worry, just get started on it. Depending on how soon your program's coming up, we may ask for you to expedite it, but especially if you're looking to go next year or in spring, you have time. And then if you want to apply for academic year, especially for GAP, open your application as an academic year application. The visa process is a lengthy one. It's well worth it, but always better to know what you're planning to do. For first year abroad, you can kind of make that decision once you're on program for the fall. since our applications are open till October and there is no visas with our first year abroad program. But that does mean that in some locations you have to move. You could do a semester in Kyoto and then you could do a semester in Monteverde or Barcelona, but you can't do 2 semesters in Kyoto since there is no visas related to the program. We have different promos. This one is expired. I'm sorry. I should have gotten rid of it, but schedule a call with your enrollment coordinator. This will be the best way to learn about the program and go over any specific questions. But I want to open it up to anyone who's still on this call about any questions that they may have. I can unmute you guys, or you could ask questions in the chat as well. Awesome. Well, if there's no questions, no problem. I'll be sending this recording in an email, as well as some additional information. But thank you all so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.